All right, folks, welcome into another edition of the Fourth and Fun Pod. I am your host, Clayton Sauer, with my co-host, Clayton Shekels, and today we've got a fun one for you. Our top 10 NCAA quarterbacks by talent. This is not going to be based on how we think they're going to do this year. This is based on what they've done or some things that we really like about these guys. We'll do another video after fall camp before the season starts on quarterbacks. And this will be the first installment of our top 10 position by position ranking. I don't know if we'll do kickers. I don't know enough about college kickers. So, all right. Today, I feel like we should start off 10 through 5, and I'll go ahead and I'll get us started. I'll start us off with one that everybody seems to have in their top 3. I didn't see enough to put him that high. I mean, he's got a lot of talent. Arch Manning. Everybody says he's going to be the next big thing, bigger than sliced bread. And he may be that talented. I mean, he reminds me a lot more of Archie Manning than Eli or Peyton. He's kind of out of that Cade Klubnik mold, I feel. Obviously, he's not quite that talented yet. You know, he's got to get a few years under his belt, or maybe even next year's the year. Last year he started in 4 games, played I think 6 or 7 total. 939 yards, 9-2 touchdown to interception ratio. He had 4.3 yards a carry. I think he carried it 25 times, and he had 4 touchdowns. So, I mean, about 1 out of every 6 times he carries the ball, he's getting a touchdown. That's pretty impressive. And then on to number 9. This is going to be a veteran. I think he's 25 this year, and that's going to be Haynes King out of Georgia Tech. He only played in 9 games last year. He played in 11 total, but he only threw passes really in 9 games. He threw for 2,100 yards, 14-2 touchdown to interception ratio, so he's very efficient. And then on the ground, he adds 587 yards and 11 touchdowns. And really, if you average that out to a full 12-game season, you know, excluding the bowl game, you're looking at 2,700 yards, probably 20 touchdowns, 700 yards rushing, 15 touchdowns. I think he's going to be really, really good next year. Somebody that's undervalued. Now, will he have a Heisman season? I would say probably not. Being at Georgia Tech, he'd probably have to throw for 6,000 yards and run for 2,500 yards.
You have to get him ranked or something.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia Tech's just never going to be that good for him to really make a case about that. At number 8, I have probably who I think is the most underrated quarterback in college football, considering nobody really even knows his name, and that's Josh Hoover. He's the second leading returning passer from last year, and he plays for the TCU Horned Frogs. He threw for 3,949 yards last year, 27 touchdowns. He did have 11 interceptions, and he had negative 19 rushing yards. So
sacks.
I was going to say sacks are a funny thing in college because they actually count against your rushing yards, not like in the NFL. But he also had 4 rushing touchdowns. So, I mean, he is a pocket passer, but when he's got good protection, he tends to make a really good decision. I think he's going to be pretty solid this year. On to number 7. This is everybody's favorite quarterback, really. It's Diego Pavia.
I don't like him.
After he beat Alabama, he really threw himself into a national conversation.
Yeah.
And when you break it down by the numbers, his passing yards are not eye-popping. 2,293 yards, but you have to consider that's on 290-something attempts. So he's not throwing the ball over the yard, but he also added into that 20 touchdowns to only 4 picks, so 5-1 touchdown interceptions.
Kind of like Haynes King a little bit.
Yeah, I think those two are a lot in the same vein in that respect, and they both add in quite a bit on the ground because Pavia also had 800 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns. So, I mean, that's another guy you really got to keep your eye on. I think he is a super senior this year, so it'll be our last year with him. And then on to number 6, I have Sam Leavitt from Arizona State. I do expect a little bit of a setback, you know, toward the beginning of the year because he did lose Cam Scatterbo, and I believe he lost. I was going to say, I know they lost at least their number 1 receiver.
But they weren't playing with him at all in the playoffs. They didn't have their number 1 in the playoffs. They broke his arm or something.
Well, he didn't really have a great game against Texas. think
that's
Scadaboo had.
That's like one of the number one defenses.
That is true, and they're going to be really good defensively this year. But I mean, last year, 2,800 yards. Nothing crazy, but very solid. He also added to that 24 touchdowns to 6 picks, so that's 4-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. Very, very solid there. 443 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns. How much of that is because of the read option where they had to really key on Cam Scadabo, who was, 1,800 yards rushing, 15-plus touchdowns? And how much of that is, him just being athletic?
Yeah.
We'll really find that out this year. That's my 10 through 6.
All right. For number 10, I got Kevin Jennings.
Ooh,
bringing that
okay.
SMU team.
That's one I wrote it in and I crossed it out.
The touchdown interception ratio kind of hurts them. It's a 23-11.
Yeah, that was something I was looking at.
I mean, for being first year in the ACC, so you move up with the big boys, bringing them into the playoffs in their first year, this close to winning the ACC title game.
And he wasn't even the starter at game 1.
No, it was Preston Smith.
Preston Stone. And then he ended up coming in to start, I think, like the third game, and he just ran with it.
Yeah, and he doesn't, with, 354 yards, 5 touchdowns, but I mean on the ground. But I think he could beat you both ways.
He's more of a deceptive runner than a just...
I have him that low because I'm very curious to see what SMU does next year. They still have their running back, right?
I believe they do, yeah.
So, kind of, I don't know who they brought in or anything, but I'm very curious to see if he's going to take that next jump or not. Number 9, you had him a little bit higher, Sam Levitt.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he performed really well for, once again, first year in the Big 12. I know they were in the Pac-12. And having Scadaboo kind of take that off your plate a little bit of everyone trying to worry about you.
Yeah.
I mean, 20, like you said, 24-6 and almost 3,000 yards.
It's efficient.
Yeah. Even without your number one for like a fourth of the year.
Yeah, I mean, that's
still really good. And his QB, I put down his QBR, 80 QBR, ranked 9th in the nation.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And of returning starters,
that's one of the highest.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's maybe second.
One man higher than him on my list. I got another guy you had, Haynes King. He's just a guy. He doesn't really throw it, only 2,000 yards, but a 14 and 2 touchdown interception.
Extremely efficient.
And a 78.6 QBR. So it's not like he's inaccurate or anything, but if he needs to throw it, he will, and he can beat you with it because he ranked 13th in the nation.
And that's a guy that if you didn't know him last year, what he did against Florida State, really jumped him.
Yeah, and he's a hard-nosed runner.
Yeah, he is.
I don't know how big he is, but he runs like Josh Allen.
I don't think he's very big, but
he runs like he's big.
He rarely gets knocked backward.
Yeah. And 587 yards, 11 touchdowns. That's one of the highest out of my list. It's not the highest. 7, a guy didn't really perform up to expectations last year. Carson Beck. Going to Miami, that's a pretty big program. I think a down step from Georgia, and you're losing Restrepo. But, I mean, the numbers still aren't terrible. 3,485 yards, 28 touchdowns, 12 interceptions.
Yeah.
The highest QBR, 80.9, ranked 8th in the nation, and didn't really do it on the ground. Got sacked a lot because I think he held the ball a little too long in some situations.
Yeah.
So it really hurts him. But if we can see the Carson Beck before last year in this Miami offense, he might be up to one of those possible Heisman guys.
And it puts Miami in a situation where they could position themselves in the college football playoff.
Yeah. So it's really, I didn't want to put him top 5 because of the year he had, but we've seen what he can do.
Yeah.
But we've also seen how bad he can be.
Like against Kentucky, he was just completely...
If you're beating Kentucky by 1 point, something's wrong. We're just losing to him. I'm looking at Jackson Dart. And then number 6, I've never been huge on him, but he did show flashes down the stretch and late in the season with North Sellers. Only 2,500 passing yards. The touchdown interception ratio is very high, 18-7.
Yeah.
And he had a 69.8 QBR, which ranked 40th.
Yep.
Which is not good, but he's a big dude. He had 687 yards and 7 touchdowns.
And he was playing as a redshirt freshman last year.
Yeah.
So he's still very green.
And I think it did show at the beginning of the year, but I think once he got settled down, he showed what he can be. And that's another reason I didn't put him in top 5 is got to see him make the jump.
Yep.
And you didn't put him on there. I didn't. DJ Lagway. Looked at his stats. I don't see what the hype is about. I know he didn't start right away, but 12 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Good.
No, it wasn't what people were expecting, but they are expecting him to take that huge jump, And that's what I really thought. I'm not going to put a whole lot of people that are not returning starters.
I think if he's going to turn out what he is expected to, I think it's going to be a lot in like the North Sellers situation where struggled the first half and then just made a monster run in the back half.
Yeah.
Because still green. So
exactly.
That's my 10 through 6.
All right. On to my number 5. And this is one that I kind of struggled with where exactly to put him because, he's got some of the most experience out of any guy on this list, but he's also never been the guy to go out and win the game for you when you need it to be won, and that's Drew Aller at Penn State. He's a guy that I don't know if we're going to see a jump from him anytime because I was expecting it last year. And
big Drew Aller guy.
I like his game a lot, but I don't expect him. Last year he threw for 3,300 yards, very, very solid. 24-8 touchdown interceptions, so it's 3-1. Nothing eye-popping, but very solid. And then again, he doesn't add you much on the ground. He averaged only 3.1 per carry last year. Did have 6 touchdowns, so he had 30 touchdowns all told. I think he's a guy that's not outstanding, but very, very solid. Won't lose you the game. Makes good decisions. He reminds me a lot of A.J. McCarron.
Okay.
I think that's a good comp for him. And then on to 4. This is a guy that, if you're not an average college football fan, you probably don't know his name, and you may not even know it now, but you will this year, assuming he doesn't get hurt. And that's John Mateer. Last year, playing out on the West Coast at Washington State, he had 3,149 yards passing, 29-7 touchdown to interception ratio. So he's already a very solid quarterback just as far as the passing game goes. But then you add in his legs, and he ran for 826 yards and 15 touchdowns.
Yeah.
44 total touchdowns last year. Very, very solid year for him. So I expect him to really help Oklahoma make a big revival this year and possibly have a better season than Texas, honestly.
Really?
I got to relook at the schedule, but I think Oklahoma, as far as talent level goes, probably somewhat on par with Texas. Now, coaching is going to be a big concern there. Steve Sarkisian can coach
the coach
blocks around.
Yeah, let's say the coaching tier there is
it is big.
Jump.
Yeah.
So is the price of the roster.
And then on to my number 3. You had him at number 6, I think. Yeah, number 6, and that's Lenore Sellers, a guy that's very green. Like I said last year, redshirt freshman. He's only 19 years old. He threw for 2,534 yards, 18-7 touchdowns to interception. So I mean that's nothing, really solid. But I think he's the guy that can take that leap this year, like I thought Drew Aller would last year. It didn't quite materialize as much with Drew Aller, but I think Lenore Seller can be a guy that throws for 3,000 and rushes for 1,000. I mean, he got close last year. Like I said, 2,534 passing yards, 674 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns. He's kind of like Diet Cam Newton. When you think about it, he's 6'3", like 245. He's not as big as Cam, but he runs like him. And then on to my number 2, Garrett Nussmeier. This is the best as far as stats go, passing-wise, returning starter in the nation. He was 5th last year in passing yards with over 4,000. And he had 29 touchdowns. Bit of a bugaboo. He did have 12 interceptions. I think he had a few fumbles to add on to that as well. So he's going to have a little trouble holding on to the rock. And he ran for negative 38 yards.
Yeah, I didn't include his rushing yards. I don't think he runs the ball, though.
No, not really. So, I mean, if you can get him a good pocket and knowing the receivers that LSU has down there, I think the sky's the limit for this guy. I mean, last year, 4,000 yards. That's very, very, very solid because I think he was 5th overall and he was not that far behind number 1. So, it was Kyle McCord in Syracuse.
That makes sense. He popped off.
And then on to my number 1. No surprise here. I think everybody's got him rated number 1, and there's a reason for that. It's Cade Klubnik out of Clemson. 10th last year in passing yards. He had 3,639. But here's the part that just blows minds. 36 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions. 6-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio for a full season. That's stupid good.
Very safe with the football.
And then to add on to that, he's got legs that are hard to contain. So, you cover 3-4 guys, checkdown's not quite there. You still got to have a QB spy. He
can kill you with it.
He's the guy that you have to plan around.
Yeah.
Not that he's on the same level as Lamar Jackson, but in the same way that you had to defend Lamar Jackson because he could run it.
Be with both.
Exactly. And then, he had that 463 yards rushing, 7 touchdowns. He ran a long touchdown against Pittsburgh to ice that game last year. Really saved him in that one. I think he's going to be very solid, if not the leader for the Heisman next year.
All right. So, the rest of my guys you've touched on. At 5, John Mateer. Like you said, was it 44 touchdowns. He's got a 70-point QBR is pretty low, 70.9. My only concern with him is, Pac-12 isn't really a thing.
Yeah.
But going into the Big 12 playing against, Big 12's not really known for their defense.
Oklahoma's SEC now.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. That's still some top-tier defense that you're going to have to face. I don't know what their schedule's looking like. I don't know who they play. I just know the one guarantee is Texas. And that's going to be a pretty stout defense. But he shows that production that he had at Washington State, and he translates. It's kind of like how it was with Cam Ward from Washington State to Miami.
Yep.
If he can go from Washington State to Oklahoma and just do exactly what he did, maybe he's a dark horse.
That's one that I'd sprinkle a little bit on if you're a betting man.
Number 4, you're not going to agree with it, Arch Manning. I know he's a green guy, and it's a little hypocritical when you're like Sellers, but I think he's, wouldn't say talent level, but his game's very similar to Cade.
Yeah.
He can beat you on both.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty, for a Manning, he's fast.
Absolutely.
And only played 6 games, had almost 1,000 yards, only 2 interceptions in those games. I know they didn't play like top tier, because like one was like Mississippi State.
And UL Monroe and...
So, not like the greatest sample. And he had 87.5 QBR. Not enough attempts to get ranked on that.
But yeah, like you say, 87, that would have led the nation last year, correct?
Yeah, something like that. And then 108 rushing yards. But only on 25 attempts. Oh, that's still not great. Guys, yes, sacks, but still. So, I don't know. I guess we'll see with that talented Texas roster. We'll see if he makes the jump or...
I expect a jump from him, but I got to see it.
Yeah.
He never took a pass against a high-ranked defense.
Yeah. I put him at 4 because of the talent he has shown. It's just, what's it going to look like in a full season, not just 6 games.
Yeah.
Number 3, I really like this guy, Drew Aller. I know the numbers aren't speaking a whole lot. Only 24 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. I mean, you got the two-headed monster in the backfield. You don't need to throw a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
And
so he could just be a game manager this year.
Yeah,
and
I know
be phenomenal.
He had that really bad interception against Notre Dame to seal it.
Yeah.
I've watched that play many times. Got a guy right in his face, so you can't put all of it on him. You know, you're trying to make I think it was like 4th down maybe. You like trying to make a little hero play. Threw it behind him. Christian Gray comes up with it and seals it for Notre Dame. I'm not saying he's going to make a huge jump because I'm pretty sure he was in Heisman conversations, and I think he will be again.
Yeah.
But I think that touchdown interception ratio will become better. I'm not sure weapons-wise what he has.
I mean, if he can take a step this next year, I don't see why Penn State doesn't win the Big Ten.
I mean, took him to... They were right there. One play
in the Final Four.
Yeah, one play away. But he's just got to be better with the football. I know a guy was in his face, but sometimes, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you could have let him or not. I don't know where that guy was heads up on him.
And there was a couple games early on in the year that kind of scared me about him. That Bowling Green game, I think they got down by 2 or 3 touchdowns early, and it took them a miracle to come back and win.
Yeah. Number 2, another, I think, one of the Heisman favorites, Garrett Nussmeier. You put ahead of, like 1 and 2 of Nuss are the same.
Yep.
I mean, 80 QBR. And obviously, I don't think he's a rushing guy, so the rushing yards aren't going to be there for him. But 4,000 yards, 29 touchdowns. Bring down the interceptions a bit. You could be looking at maybe 4,500 yard season and 30 touchdowns.
Honestly, right now he's my pick to go number 1 overall next year.
He's got the talent for it.
He absolutely does. But, you know, who knows? Maybe Cade has a great year this year.
I personally think Cade's gonna win Heisman. That's why I have him at number 1. I mean, kid can do it all. And it's not like he's not accurate with the football. 78.7 QBR, 36 touchdowns, 6 interceptions.
Yeah.
He ranked 12th in the nation. And with the carries, 119 carries, 463 yards, 7 touchdowns. That kid had a 43
well, I guess you should go ahead and say who your number 1 is.
Yeah, Cade Klubnik.
Cade Klubnik get 1 for him as well.
Yeah, 43 touchdowns. I mean, the favorite, in my opinion, to win Heisman.
Oh, yeah.
Clear cut, that's who's going to win.
I mean, I haven't looked at his odds, but I would assume he's head and shoulders above the pack. I mean, there's no real stars coming back this year outside of him, in my opinion. Nobody on his level. And then, you know, I have a few guys that I wrote down that I crossed out, that I have just missed out. So, my number 1 guy that just missed out was a guy that you had on, which is Carson Beck. You know, I mean, he got too much hate last year, but also he kind of warranted the hate. So, you get what you deserve as far as that goes. You know, you talk about yourself like you're the best, and then you go out and don't exactly play the best.
Arch Manning's the favorite.
Wow. Arch Manning today, plus 700 to win the Heisman. Klubnik, plus 900. Nussmeier, plus 900. And then I also had Avery Johnson at Kansas State. Young guy, had a solid year, if not unimpressive. But I think there were definitely some flashes of what he can do.
Yeah.
And if he can just become more consistent, take care of the ball a little bit better, he's going to be really, really good. Another guy that you had, Kevin Jennings. I had him actually written down, crossed him out, and he ends up here on my just missed out list. I won't get into too much to his stats because you already talked about it, but you know, he took SMU from the American League into the ACC, took him to the championship game, took him to the college football playoffs, and then melted down.
Yeah.
So
not a good game against Penn State.
We got to see him when the lights are shining bright do well, but I think he's a guy that's very, very good. Another guy that's not talked about a whole lot, played for Iowa State. That's Rocco Beck. I believe last year he was 11th or 12th in the nation in total passing yards. Turnovers were a bit of an issue for him, but if he can cut down on those, which how many times have we said that about a guy that they just cannot do it? If he can cut down on interceptions, fumbles, top 10 quarterback easily. And then another guy that talent-wise has a very good case to be top 10, but we don't know between the eyes if he's got it yet. 12-9 touchdown to interception ratio, DJ Lagway.
Yeah, I'm not sold on him.
I got to see more before I can move him up somewhere like that. Every list that you look at has him top 10. Several have him top 5. I don't see it. I mean, I haven't seen it, is what I'm saying. Like, it's not like I can't see it, because, obviously he's rated very, very highly like that for a reason. But, I know about as much as what he's going to do this year as I do as Bryce Underwood.
Not a big sample.
Exactly.
Underwood hasn't, I guess, snap.
And that's my just missed out. You got any that
No.
come to mind?
Well, you have one written down, Edward Johnson.
Yep.
Probably the only one. DJ Lagway, I don't think he's going to come close to me.
All right, folks. Well, that'll wrap it up for us today. That is our top 10 quarterbacks in the NCAA by talent coming into next year. Stick around. We'll have a new video coming out here soon. We're also going to be doing our top 10 NFL quarterbacks. And stick around for the whole series. We're going to do this for every position in college football and probably every position for the NFL, including coaches. All right, folks. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.